There is a specific moment in which you are about to witness something extraordinary, but you do not yet know it. You can perceive that this occurs through quality in the air, through energy that is different. And on that morning in the ESPN studio in New York, there was quality exactly like this. A live sports talk program. It is a program that is made 5 days per week. It is a program that millions of people watch during breakfast. It is a program that defines the basketball narrative for the entire day. And on that morning, Michael Jordan was there as a guest commentator. This, by itself, was news, because Michael Jordan rarely appears on programs of this type. But he had decided to participate. He had decided to be present. He had decided to be part of the conversation about the future of basketball. Skip Bayless was there as well, like he was every day, like he had been for decades. Skip was the backbone of the program. Skip was the voice that provoked. Skip was the man who said things that other people thought but did not speak. Skip was a provocateur. And this was his purpose. And this was his power. You can perceive when someone is coming to a program with a hidden agenda. Skip had arrived with an agenda. He had arrived with an argument ready. He had arrived knowing that Michael Jordan would be there. And this meant that Skip would have a platform to make an affirmation that he had wanted to make for a long time. The host began the program like any other day. News of the day, analysis of recent games, discussion about the season. But then, gradually, the conversation turned to the future, to legacy, to the question that everyone wanted to know. Will Stephen Curry win a championship? You can perceive when a question is being asked because the answer matters, because there is real doubt, because there is an entire world that wants to know. The host looked at Michael Jordan. Michael, do you think Curry can still win a ring? Is this still possible? And it is impossible not to notice how the question was formulated. It is not, will Curry win? It is, can Curry still win? It is a question that carries doubt in its own structure. Michael Jordan began to respond. He began to explain the modern system. He began to explain that Curry was in a position to win. He began to explain that years were still possible. But then Skip Bayless raised his hand. And you can perceive when someone wants an interruption, when they have something that needs to be said, when they cannot wait their turn. I will answer this, said Skip. And there was a smile on his face. A smile that was a weapon. Because I think it is important to be honest here. And it is impossible not to feel when honesty is in quotation marks, when a word is being used to camouflage provocation. The truth is, continued Skip, and now his voice had the quality of someone who had thought a lot about this, Stephen Curry will never win a ring. The silence that followed was profound, because it is an extraordinary affirmation. It is an absolute prediction. It is the death of hope communicated with confidence. Never? Asked the host, and you can perceive that even the host was surprised by the absolutism. Never, confirmed Skip, and I will tell you why. Skip leaned forward, and you can perceive when someone is about to make an argument that they have rehearsed 1,000 times. Curry is an extraordinary player in the regular season, began Skip. No one questions this. No one denies this. But when you get to the playoffs, when maximum pressure arrives, when the entire world is watching and it really matters. Skip made a pause, and a pause is a rhetorical weapon. Curry disappears. You can perceive when a word is chosen to kill. Disappears is not plays worse. It is not faces difficulties. Disappears is a word that suggests that Curry is not present in the critical moment. Michael Jordan was listening. His face had not changed. but you can perceive when someone is absorbing intellectual dishonesty. Skip continued. When the game matters, when the score is tied, when you need to make a play that defines the series, Curry does not make it. Because he does not have the gene of a winner. Because he does not have the mentality of a champion in the sense that true winners have. And it is impossible not to recognize when arguments are being stacked, when false affirmations are being placed one on top of another to build a castle that seems solid, but is not. Therefore, said Skip, and now there was absolute confidence in his voice, my prediction is that Stephen Curry will never win a championship. And who knows? Maybe this is the thing that defines him. Maybe this is the reason why he will be remembered as a good player, but not as a great player. And you can perceive when a sentence is handed down, when a narrative is established, when the final word is said with confidence that kills discussion. The host turned to Michael. Jordan, Michael, your reaction to this? And it is impossible not to notice that everyone in the studio is waiting. Producers are waiting. Cameras are waiting. The entire world that is watching live is waiting. Michael Jordan breathed, and when he spoke, there was calm in his voice. There was patience. There was education. Skip, I disagree, said Jordan simply. Disagree? With what? Asked Skip, as if Jordan had said something incomprehensible. With all of this, responded Jordan. Curry is... Pressure works differently. Winners come in different forms. Curry has proven to be clutch repeatedly. Jordan briefly explained some moments where Curry had won under high pressure. Jordan explained that the modern system is different. Jordan explained that the mentality of a winner is not singular. But, when he finished, there was something in the air that was different. It was not that Jordan had changed Skip's mind. It was that there were now two competing narratives. There was truth on one side and provocation on the other. And you can perceive when a program is about to heat up. Skip did not accept Jordan's answer. Skip doubled down. Michael, I respect your analysis, but you are being kind. The truth, the brutal truth, is that Curry does not have it. And Skip made a vague gesture with his hand that supposedly meant winning gene or champion mentality or whatever Skip wanted it to mean. He will not win, continued Skip, with confidence that could not be touched. And when this does not happen, you will remember this conversation. And it is impossible not to perceive when someone is making a prediction as if they had seen the future, as if they knew a truth that no one else knew. Michael Jordan was quiet now. But you can perceive when someone is absorbing injustice, when they are absorbing the rejection of excellence, when they are recognizing intellectual dishonesty. The host noticed that there was tension now, noticed that there was something happening beneath the surface that was not simple debate. Well, said the host, trying to calm the waters, let us continue with. But Michael Jordan raised his hand subtly. And you can perceive when someone still has something to say, when not everything that needed to be said has been said. Wait, said Jordan, I have more. And when he said this, there was a quality in his voice that was different from before. It was not aggression, but there was energy that was new. Skip, you are making a fundamental error here, said Jordan. You are using criteria that does not apply to Curry to judge him. And you can perceive when someone is beginning to articulate truth, when they are beginning to structure an argument that cannot be refuted. You want to judge Curry by the standards of the 1990s, continued Jordan. You want him to play like I played. You want him to have the mentality that I had. But he is not me. and the system is not the system of the 1990s. And when you judge Curry by standards that are not his own, of course he fails. Because you place the bar in a position where no one can reach it. And it is impossible not to feel when truth is communicated with clarity, when pure logic is being applied. But this was just the beginning. It was the calm before the storm. It was education before destruction. And the thing that you are not recognizing, continued Jordan, and now there was a different quality in his voice, is that Curry does have a champion mentality. He simply expresses it differently. And when you do not recognize this, when you call this a weakness because it is different, you are being intellectually dishonest. Skip tried to respond, but Michael Jordan had not finished. Therefore, Skip, your analysis is wrong, and we will continue until you recognize this. And when he said this, there was a promise in his words. There was a promise that this would not end with a polite rejection. There was a promise that truth would be pursued to the end. And you can perceive when a program is about to change its dynamic completely. When something extraordinary is about to happen. When a moment that will be remembered is being constructed in real time. But Skip Bayless was not ready to let this be. Because this was the problem with Skip. When someone disagreed, he doubled down. When someone questioned his analysis, he did not back away. He advanced, and advance was what Skip did. Michael, I respect you, began Skip, and you can perceive when respect is in quotation marks, but you are letting your loyalty to Curry cloud your judgment. And it is impossible not to notice when someone tries to invalidate truth through the suggestion of bias. Skip was trying to say that Jordan was incapable of honest analysis because he was friendly with Curry. It was a tactic that was dishonest in its own structure. This is not about loyalty, responded Jordan, calmly still. This is about facts. Well, the facts are, continued Skip, ignoring the interruption, that Curry is 0 for so many in finals. Curry is 0 for so many in moments that matter. Curry folded when the pressure was maximum. And you can perceive when numbers are being used dishonestly. When statistics are being selected to confirm a predetermined narrative, not to reveal truth. Skip, you are being selective with your data, said Jordan. You are choosing moments that confirm what you already believe. No, I am being honest, said Skip, and there was defensive energy in his voice. You are the one being sentimental. You see Curry as the next winner because you want to believe this. And it is impossible not to feel when an insinuation is being made. When the quality of Jordan's analysis is being questioned, when his integrity is being suggested as compromised. Michael Jordan breathed. You can perceive when someone is absorbing injustice that is growing, when frustration is beginning to build. The host, noticing that tension was growing, tried to change the subject. Well, let us talk about... But Skip would not let it rest. No, wait, said Skip. Because this is important. Because, Michael, you were the greatest competitor that has ever existed. You had a mentality that few people have. You had a winning gene that cannot be taught. And I question whether Curry has this. And when Skip said winning gene again, there was a dishonorable quality in his voice. There was an attempt to kill the high narrative of Curry through the suggestion of a fundamental lack. Curry is talented, continued Skip. Curry is good. But when you put him in the pressure cooker of the finals, when you put him in a moment where his championship depends on him, Curry does not show up. Because he does not have what you have, Michael. He does not have the winning gene. and you can perceive when words are being used as weapons. When winning Gene is being repeated as a mantra that will kill Curry. When Skip is trying to establish this as truth through repetition. Michael Jordan was quiet now, and you can perceive when silence is different from before. When it is not patience, it is the recognition of dishonesty that demands a response. "Skip," said Jordan, and you can hear a change in his voice. You are being fundamentally dishonest. And it is impossible not to notice when tone changes, when education becomes confrontation. "How so?" asked Skip, as if he had been accused of something absurd. "You are using a term that you do not define," said Jordan. "You are talking about winning Gene, as if this were a singular thing that you can measure. You are suggesting that there is one way to win, one mentality to win, and that Curry does not have this. And this is dishonest, because the mentality of a winner comes in multiple forms. And you can perceive when someone is beginning to articulate truth with power, when logic is being applied, when dishonesty is being named clearly. "I am not dishonest," protested Skip. "I am being realistic." "No, you are being unfair," continued Jordan, and now there was a quality in his voice that was an angry educator. "Because you are using a single standard to measure Curry. You are using a standard that comes from your era, from a system that you understand. And when Curry does not fit the mold that you created, you call this a weakness. This is intellectual injustice. And it is impossible not to feel when truth is communicated with power, when injustice is being named, when someone is beginning to defend excellence that is being attacked." Skip tried to respond. "Michael, you know that—" "I know that you are wrong," interrupted Jordan, "and I will tell you why." And when he said this, there was a promise in his words. There was a promise of the systematic destruction of the argument that Skip had built. "You say that Curry does not have a winning gene," began Jordan, "but Curry wins repeatedly in high-pressure situations. Curry wins in moments that matter. Curry wins in a system that is different from the system that I played in. And when Curry does not win in the way you expect, you call this a weakness. This is not honest analysis, Skip. This is the rejection of excellence that you do not understand. And you can perceive when someone is building an argument that cannot be refuted, when it is being structured with clarity, when truth is being communicated with such force that the death of false narrative is certain." The host was watching this all unfold. Producers were watching. The world was watching live. And everyone perceived that this was no longer simple debate. This was a confrontation between truth and dishonesty. And truth was winning. "The truth is," continued Jordan, and now there was a quality in his voice that was absolute, that pressure affects people differently. And Curry does not disappear in pressure. Curry thrives. And when you do not recognize this, when you continue repeating the Brachinfo narrative that Curry does not have a winning gene, you are ignoring clear evidence of excellence. Skip was trying to respond, but Jordan had not finished. "And the thing that bothers you," said Jordan, and now there was understanding in his words, "is that Curry is redefining what it means to win. Curry is showing that you can win through a system, through rapid movement, through collective intelligence. And you do not understand this because you saw people win in a different way. And when you do not understand something, you reject it. And it is impossible not to recognize when fundamental truth is being communicated, when the real dynamic is being named, when Skip was being confronted not just in arguments, but in his own fear that excellence was being redefined. "I do not have a fear of—" began Skip. "You are afraid," said Jordan, "and you can perceive when someone is naming a truth that is so clear that it cannot be refuted. You are afraid that Curry will prove you wrong. You are afraid that Curry will win, and that your prediction that he will never win becomes a moment of shame in your career. And that is why you continue attacking. That is why you continue repeating that he does not have the winning gene. Because if you stop, you will have to deal with the possibility that you are wrong. And you can perceive when the silence that follows is different. It is not the silence of debate. It is the silence of truth being told that cannot be ignored." Skip could not respond, because responding would mean dealing with the possibility that Jordan was right, and Skip was not ready for this. The host noticed that the moment was critical, noticed that tension had reached a point where continuation could result in an explosion, noticed that the program was about to become something much greater than a simple discussion. "Well, let us take a quick break," said the host, trying to give the program a respite. But Michael Jordan raised his hand. And you can perceive when someone still has something to say, when not everything has been said. "Wait," said Jordan, "because this is important. Skip, you made a prediction that Curry will never win. And I will say this clearly. You are wrong. Fundamentally, completely, absolutely wrong. And when Curry wins, because he will win, you will have to deal with this." And when he said this, there was a quality in his voice that was so clear, so definitive, that the death of Skip's argument was certain. The narrative had been destroyed. The truth had been communicated. And what would follow would only be confirmation of what Michael Jordan had just established. And you can perceive when a historical moment is being created in real time, when someone is making a statement that will be remembered, when truth is being told with such power that there is no room for refutation. The break came. But the air in the studio had no break. There was tension that was tangible. There was understanding among everyone that this was not a simple television program. This was a moment that would be remembered. When they returned from the commercial, Michael Jordan was waiting. You can perceive when someone is ready to tell a truth that will change everything, when they are ready for a destruction that is necessary. The host tried to begin with a new subject. "Well, let us return to—" But Michael Jordan raised his hand. And you can perceive when someone is not asking for permission. They are informing that they will speak. "Wait," said Jordan, "because I promised to continue, and I will keep my word." You can perceive when a moment is about to be historic, when something that will be repeated infinitely is about to happen, when truth is about to be told with power that cannot be ignored. "Skip," began Jordan, and there was absolute calm in his voice. "You made a prediction, a very clear prediction. You said that Stephen Curry will never win a ring. And you said this because you believe that he does not have a winning gene. And I will answer this directly, clearly, so that there is no confusion." Skip was waiting. You can perceive when someone is about to be confronted with a truth that they cannot escape. "Curry has a winning gene," said Jordan simply. "Completely. Absolutely. Without doubt." And when he said this, there was a quality in his voice that was so certain that the death of Skip's argument was immediate. "But," continued Jordan, "because you do not understand this, I will explain why. And it is impossible not to feel when someone is about to structure an argument that is impeccable. A winning gene is not singular," said Jordan. "It is not one thing. It is a set of qualities that allow someone to win under pressure. And these qualities come in multiple forms. I won through brutal competition, aggressive personal defense, isolation. Curry wins through rapid movement, intelligent system, collective excellence. These are different ways to win, but both are winning. And you can perceive when fundamental truth is being communicated. When something that the entire world feels but does not verbalize is being said clearly. Now, you will say that Curry was not clutch in the finals, continued Jordan. And I will respond, Curry has proven to be clutch repeatedly. In the Western Conference Finals, in critical games, in moments that mattered. You choose to remember only moments where Curry did not have a perfect performance. But this is not honest analysis. This is the selection of data to confirm the narrative that you already decided. Skip tried to interrupt, but Jordan continued. I am not finished, said Jordan, because this is important, and the world needs to hear this. And you can perceive when someone is so certain of truth that they cannot be stopped. The truth, Skip, is that you do not understand modern basketball, said Jordan, and you can hear every word being weighted with precision. You do not understand how pressure works in a system where the entire team is playing at maximum speed and maximum intelligence. You want Curry to play like I played, and when he does not, you call him weak. This is not analysis. This is the rejection of evolution that you do not understand. And it is impossible not to recognize when truth is communicated with such clarity that refutation is impossible. Curry is not me, continued Jordan, and this is good, because the world does not need another Michael Jordan. The world needs Stephen Curry, and Curry is excellent at what Curry does. Curry has redefined the position. Curry has expanded the game. Curry has shown the world that you can win in a way that you said was impossible to win. And when you do not recognize this, when you deny this, you are being intellectually dishonest. Jordan leaned forward, and you can perceive when someone is about to make a final statement that will kill the narrative. Therefore, my response to your prediction that Curry will never win is this. You are completely, fundamentally, absolutely wrong. Curry does have a winner's mentality. Curry does have a winning gene. Curry will be remembered as one of the great ones. And your prediction is wrong. And when it proves to be wrong, because it will prove to be wrong, you will have to deal with this. And when he said this, there was a quality in his voice that was so definitive, so clear, that the silence that followed was the silence of the world recognizing a truth that could not be contested. Skip had no response. Because how do you refute Michael Jordan? How do you argue against the GOAT when the GOAT is telling truth with an authority that comes from really understanding the mentality of a winner? The host perceived that the moment had changed completely, that the dynamic had been inverted, that the narrative had been destroyed. But Michael Jordan had not finished. And one last thing, said Jordan, and you can perceive when someone is about to make an affirmation that will be remembered forever. Do you know the difference between honest analysis and rejection? Honest analysis questions. Rejection denies excellence because it is afraid of it. And you, Skip, are rejecting the excellence of Curry because you are afraid that he will prove you wrong. Because you are afraid that you have built a career on analysis that is fundamentally wrong. And this is something that you will have to process. Not me, you. And you can perceive when truth is communicated that touches on a real emotional root. When someone is being seen completely. When there is no place to hide. Curry will win, said Jordan, and there was absolute certainty in his voice. And you will remember this conversation. And you will know that Michael Jordan told you clearly. and you will know that you were wrong. And the silence that followed was a profound silence. It was not the silence of defeat. It was the silence of truth being recognized. It was the silence of the entire world watching live, recognizing that a historical moment had happened. That truth had been told. That a narrative had been destroyed. Skip tried to speak, but words did not come. Because what do you say when Michael Jordan has just destroyed your analysis in front of the world? What do you say when truth has been communicated with such power that refutation is impossible? The host perceived that the program had changed completely, that the dynamic had been transformed, that Skip could not recover credibility from this moment. "Well," said the host, trying to end the segment, "this was intense." And you can perceive when an understatement is being used because the truth is too clear. Michael Jordan was quiet now, but you can perceive when the silence of someone who has just done something that needed to be done. When there is satisfaction in truth having been communicated. When there is peace in knowing that false narrative has been destroyed. And when the program continued, it was clear that something had changed permanently, that Skip's credibility in questioning Curry had been destroyed, that the word of Michael Jordan had been established as a truth that could not be contested. And you can perceive when a historical moment is being created in real time. When someone is making an affirmation that will be repeated infinitely. When truth is being told with such power that there is no room for doubt. Hours after Michael Jordan made his pronouncement live, something changed in the world of basketball. Because you can perceive when the entire world is receiving a message simultaneously. When a narrative is being reconstructed in real time. When truth is being propagated through billions of devices. The clip was not a clip of a simple debate. It was not a clip of casual confrontation. It was a clip of Michael Jordan destroying false analysis. It was a clip of the GOAT defending excellence. It was a clip that the entire world wanted to share. Within minutes, the clip was on social media. Within hours, billions of views. Within a day, it was the dominant narrative in basketball. But the narrative was not, Skip Bayless criticizes Curry. The narrative was, Michael Jordan destroys Skip Bayless. The narrative was, GOAT defends winner's mentality. The narrative was the destruction of a false prediction by an authority that could not be questioned. You can perceive when a narrative changes fundamentally, when something that was established is replaced by something new, when truth replaces lies in the collective mind. Global reactions began immediately. Analysts agreed that Jordan was right. Players shared the clip as validation of excellence that was frequently questioned. Sports scientists explained that Jordan had articulated a fundamental truth about the mentality of a winner. But more importantly, Skip Bayless became a meme. Not for being attacked personally, but for being fundamentally wrong. For making a prediction that Michael Jordan had just destroyed in front of the entire world. And when you become a meme for being wrong in sports analysis, your career as a critic cannot recover in the same way. Curry saw the video, and you can perceive when someone receives validation from a person who really understands excellence, who really understands pressure, who really understands the mentality of a winner. Curry was visibly moved, because there is weight in being defended by an idol. There is weight in having your work recognized not as talented but weak, but as genuinely extraordinary. Curry responded publicly, "I respect Michael. I have always watched Michael. And to hear him say that I have a winner's mentality, this means everything." And you can perceive when genuine validation is received. When the barrier of professionalism falls, and only humanity remains. Months later, Michael Jordan was asked about the confrontation live with Skip. His response was revealing. Because there comes a point where intellectual dishonesty needs to be called dishonesty. Skip made an affirmation about Curry, so definitive, so wrong, so dishonorable, that I could not let it stand. Because there is a difference between honest analysis and the rejection of excellence that you do not understand. Jordan continued his reflection. I understand the mentality of a winner because I have lived this. I understand pressure because I have experienced more pressure than Skip could imagine. I understand Curry because I recognize excellence when I see it. And when Skip said that Curry did not have a winning gene, he was wrong. And it was my job to say this clearly so that the world would know. And you can perceive when someone understands the responsibility of being the GOAT, when they understand that, with authority, comes the obligation to tell the truth. The reframing of Curry began immediately. The narrative changed fundamentally. Before, Curry is good but may not win. After, Curry is extraordinary and will be a winner, or has already proven to have a winning gene. Before, pressure is Curry's problem. After, Curry thrives in pressure. Michael Jordan proved this. Before, the winning gene is singular and Curry does not have it. After, the winning gene comes in multiple forms and Curry has this completely. And you can perceive when a narrative changes when the GOAT speaks, when the entire world recognizes that truth has been communicated. The impact on Skip was lasting. Skip did not disappear from television, but he never again had the same level of credibility in questioning Curry, because the world had seen that he was wrong, because Michael Jordan had destroyed his analysis in front of billions of people, because the moment was permanently recorded as an example of a false prophet being confronted with truth. And there is something about being proven wrong publicly that you never completely recover from. Beyond Curry, the impact was broader. Because Jordan had articulated a fundamental truth about evolution, about multiple forms of excellence, about the danger of using a single standard to measure success. This reverberates in education. It reverberates in business. It reverberates in the arts, because there is a universal tendency to try to impose a single standard, to try to say, my way of excellence is the correct way, and any other way is an inferior way. And what Jordan had done was name this and refuse it in the context of basketball. He had told the world, no, excellence can have multiple faces. It can have multiple manifestations. And recognizing this does not diminish anyone. This is a fundamental truth that the world needs to hear. Years later, a young analyst was being trained in how to do honest sports analysis. The mentor showed the video of Jordan confronting Skip, said, "This is the perfect example of when you need to tell the truth with power." Skip was wrong. Jordan knew he was wrong. And he communicated with such clarity that the death of the false narrative was inevitable. Learn from this. Always communicate truth with such clarity that refutation is impossible. And you can perceive when a historical moment continues to echo through time, when it continues to be used as teaching, when it continues to shape how analysts understand their responsibility. Curry, in a later interview, reflected on the impact. I spent a long time listening to criticism, a long time being measured against a standard that was not mine, a long time having my work questioned. And when Michael said what he said, something changed. Not because I needed validation from Michael, but because the world heard an authority telling a truth that I knew was true. And this gave permission to the world to recognize it too. And you can perceive when validation by an authority changes the complete dynamic. The final scene occurs years later. A young player is growing up with a different narrative, is being taught that Michael Jordan was extraordinary in his context. Stephen Curry was extraordinary. In his context, both have a winning gene. Both should be honored. There is no better. There is only extraordinary in different eras. And because the young player is raised with this understanding, when they become a player, they do not compete with the past. They build the future. They do not try to be Jordan. They do not try to be Curry. They try to be themselves. And this is the true legacy that Jordan created by confronting Skip. Not just the destruction of false narrative, but the creation of a new narrative where multiple forms of excellence can coexist. And thus is how truth changes the world. Not silently, but through a moment in which someone with authority tells the truth with such clarity that refutation is impossible. Through a moment that is so powerful that it is remembered forever. Through an act of intellectual courage that the entire world witnesses. Michael Jordan confronted Skip Bayless not because Curry needed him. Curry was a strong player. Curry could take care of himself. But the world needed to hear from the GOAT that the mentality of a winner is not singular. That excellence comes in multiple forms. That recognizing this does not diminish anyone. That truth can be communicated with power when it really matters. And this is what it means to be truly great. Not just to win in your time, but to defend truth in future times. But to be a voice that says clearly when false narrative is being constructed. But to use your authority to protect excellence that is being attacked. This is what Michael Jordan did, and the world will never forget.